Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Excited to have you here. The topic of today's video is going to be why I believe crypto will never die. And the reason I want to talk about this is because, crypto's in that spot right now that computers were, that smartphones were at one point, where people were like, nah, that's never going to actually catch on. Or people are early adopters. There's all these different perspectives and viewpoints on it, but at some point you have to realize the inevitability of something, right? And whether you like it or not, you can either accept it, you can wait until you're dragged along into it, or you can educate yourself and use it to your advantage, right? By being an early adopter, by understanding what's going on. So that's kind of what I really want to talk about today, and just why I believe that crypto is not going anywhere. So I can't remember the exact year that Bitcoin came out. I do remember when Bitcoin was like super early. I had some friends that were really into it. Shout out to you, Josh. Even tried to start an online grocery store with Bitcoin, which was genius. It was just very far ahead of its time. And, when you're doing something that is ahead of its time, a lot of times you get the doubters, you have the trial and error, etc. Anyway, I digress. Also, let me insert now, not financial advice, right? This is just me talking about why I think crypto is here to stay, and I think it's going to evolve. It's the future, and I'm going to tell you why I think that is. So the blockchain is something that came along. Was Bitcoin the first one? I don't know for sure. I'm not totally solid on that history, but it is a way to decentralize financial systems by writing immutable code that is then stored on a new type of database that stores information electronically in digital form, right? So there's a lot of capabilities that came with it that we didn't have before. This is like next level, and I'm not going to go into the whole blockchain explanation. It's kind of tricky, but what it does is it gives us the capabilities to restructure our financial systems. So what blockchain essentially does is, at this point in time, it has given people the ability to think outside of the current currency box. And if we all were to adopt it, if there was to be mass adoption, what we would have the potential to do here is to completely take financial control out of the centralized hands that it is currently in, right? Right now, the government prints our money. They decide when it gets printed. They decide how much to print. They decide how to distribute that wealth at the beginning, middle, and end. They decide where it goes. They decide the taxes on it. They decide who gets taxed the most, and all these different things, right? Whereas the blockchain gives us the ability to completely decentralize that, so there isn't somebody in control. We are all in control, and this is huge. So whereas right now, we only have the level of understanding that we have because certain things are just not even available to us, the blockchain makes everything transparent and also gives a much greater added level of security when it is used the way it was intended, right? So it was built with the intention of decentralization, of allowing us to say, hey, we are going to decide how we control our own money, how we utilize it, how we trade it, etc. And really, like, the ultimate decentralization is it gives us the power, if we were all to adopt it basically at the same rate and decide, yes, this is how we're going to exchange for value, it allows us to say to the Fed, right? And to be like, hey, sorry, we don't need you anymore. And I think that's something that is very, very disturbing to the Fed and the government. And if you want to talk a little more about that, definitely join my email list. It's linked down in the description, because I really like to get in on these topics and just kind of banter about maybe what's really going on. So join my email if you'd like to talk more about that kind of stuff. But regardless, crypto, the blockchain was built for crypto. It was built with this intention, and now we have these currencies that they have a lot greater adoption than they used to have. And we even are having, we're where people are taking them as an exchange for value, right? What do you call that? Transactional systems where people can trade with Bitcoin, they can trade with Ethereum, etc. So it's starting to escalate, it's starting to get more exciting, and at the same time, I think it's starting to get a little more disturbing to the current centralized system. So that is something that I want to talk about next, because going a little bit back to my first point, the blockchain is fairly new, yes. It's fresh on the scene for the most part, especially as far as adoption goes and understanding on a mass level. But it's one of those things that I don't think that we are going to go backwards from. You can't unsee it, right? So it's undeniable that this technology has these capabilities for so many different things, including security, including, easier trading between currencies, etc., or countries, easier international trade, certain things like that. And it cannot be unseen. Just even as far as like operating, right? It's like suddenly you figure out how to automate a huge operation. You're not going to be like, nah, let's keep doing it the hard way. And that's kind of what blockchain is, I believe. And I think that's why I say we can't unsee it. And I think it will only evolve from here. So in my non-financial advice opinion, it's not going anywhere. And whether it continues to stay decentralized or it gets centralized, I believe it is the future of how our money will be stored, right? And that brings me to the next point, which is, okay, so decentralized or centralized. And right now that is a big topic of discussion because the government is like, okay, well, this is not going away. We have to decide how we can get in on this or how we can continue to control this, right? And now the way that they're saying it, of course, is how we can keep you guys safe. But if you really do your own research and you really study it, it's actually... there's no more crime in crypto. There's much more crime in fiat currency, and fiat is used for many more criminal activities than crypto ever has been. There is much more security in crypto. Yes, things can go wrong. Yes, things can get crazy and wild, but that can also happen in our current financial system. So the question right now is which way is it better, right? Is it better for it to continue to evolve in a decentralized manner, or is it better for it to be centralized? We can have regulations, we can tax it, we can, do all this stuff. And here's where my opinion comes in. Of course, you probably have already guessed that I believe that it would be much better to keep it decentralized. Why? Because for me, the current centralized financial system is very rigged to have a completely disproportionate distribution of wealth. And I'm not going to go I'm not going to go fully into this topic, but if you do any kind of research into the current financial system, including the stock market, including the way money gets printed and how that gets distributed, the way that we are taxed, all of these things, you understand that right now it's not exactly set up for the people. And when you understand that, you understand the beauty of decentralization, because that takes away the power from one small entity or group to control the majority of our financial they have so many things in place, whether it's just people that have the know in the stock market that will always win, while those of us that invest at a smaller level lose, or whether it's the government printing money and distributing it where it wants to first, sneaky little first, or whether it's even Nancy Pelosi's investment record. There are so many things right now in the centralized financial system that are definitely don't seem to be beneficial to the common person. Whereas decentralization is basically starts over with a completely fair and even slate. We all in a decentralized system have the chance to have the same chances at wealth. And that's really the most simple way to put it, right? So the thing is that I'm not sure exactly how it will go. I do think that right now there is a big effort to centralize it. And I think a big part of that effort will be to the way that crypto is portrayed in the media. And that's part of why I make videos like this, because I believe that right now, the people, those of us that care about doing our own research, those of us, just we the people, have a say in how crypto and blockchain will evolve. But this is moving very fast, right? And I think that the biggest way that we will lose, that we will shoot ourselves in the foot, is by not educating ourselves, by not having our own sovereignty and realizing that we have to pay attention to this, because that's what's going to determine whether it gets completely centralized and out of our control again, or whether we have a say in how financial systems evolve, right? One more thing I want to say on the topic of centralization is one thing that is scary about the blockchain is it gives us the ability to program money or these tokens like we've never had before, right? Like before, it's just a currency and that's really all you do with it. But the blockchain does have unique capabilities in where everything is digital and everything is electronic. It also has a capability to now program different specifics into currency, right? And so the reason that scares me about centralization is, or that to me, putting those two together, like blockchain and centralization, is now if we give it over to our current financial system, who already does not seem to have our best interest in mind, they now have the capability to program our money to their liking. And who knows what that could end up like, right? So to me, this is one of the reasons that I'm really passionate about like spreading this word, is because you may not think this is interesting to you. You may not think it's relevant right now. You may be like, this is all just going to be swept under the rug. But I'm here to say that I absolutely do not believe that. Just like people that doubted computers, right? They doubted smartphones. They said credit cards would never become a thing. These things all happened, right? So I'm here to say, at least consider it from that standpoint. If this is inevitable, if this is the future of our financial systems, then what does that mean to you, right? Like, what does that mean to your money, to your wealth building capabilities or capacity, to your kids, your future generations? What does this all mean? And what sovereignty and say do you have in how this goes down? And personally, I think that we have a lot more say in how this evolves right now than we will say in probably even a year, 5 years, 10 years, right? Because these things are moving fast. Our government moves fast. And I think that the biggest thing when it comes to, these once in a lifetime opportunities for a society to change its own trajectory, for a group of people to make change that will benefit everyone at large, our biggest Achilles heel, our downfall, is that we don't pay attention soon enough. We don't take it seriously enough, and we sleep on it rather than being like, you know what, this is something I should pay attention to, even if it's not something I'm interested in. So that is my call to action today, is do some research, become interested enough to, in the sense of like, this may impact you regardless, and figure out for yourself, like, at least what do you want to see happen with the markets? If you were to say, like, really believe that right now is a time that you might have a say in how finances change, how money changes. I mean, if you could see right now that the decisions, the attention you pay to it right now, the decisions you make now, the decisions we make collectively, and how we decide to, like, I guess, form and gather together on this topic is going to impact all of our wealth, all of our freedom, all of our future generations. So just think about it from that standpoint, do some research, and figure out, like, how do you want this to go? That's my call to action today. And again, of course, I have to give a shout out to my favorite system, my favorite ecosystem in DeFi and crypto, and that is the Forex Shark ecosystem made up of Drip Network and Animal Farm. If you haven't checked out my other videos on those, definitely go check those out. And of course, please comment, like, subscribe, share this if this video resonated with you. We got to get this word out, you guys. We got to become interested and understand the power and freedom and sovereignty that is at our fingertips right now if we just decide to take things into our own hands. One more thing, I have a couple links in the description. One of them is to join my email list, which I mentioned earlier. I like to get you guys on my email list because I like to go deeper on these topics in there. And I also, it has more of a community feel. There's opportunities to connect and be part of a community that cares about this kind of thing. So definitely join that. And also, if you are interested in joining my drip team and getting into the Forex Shark ecosystem, that link is also in the description. So happy to have you guys here, and I'll see you in the next one.